humans discovered agricultural product by planting them and see what was coming out, eating something, spitting it out, vomiting, having diarrhea, saying this is not good, you know, and finally finding the one that was good. There's no difference between what are we doing now? Right now, what we're doing is producing copies of old capital, right? We put your time, my time, some structure, and hopefully we make copies of what I know in your brain. So tomorrow, hopefully, right, you're different from today because you are a different type of human capital, right? But if we were writing a paper, what we would be doing? The same thing. You know, we would be sitting down, talking, investing your capital, my capital, trying to see if we prove something or discover something that had not been known. Same thing, right? So what's the point? The point is that if I want to stay super simple, I have to admit that this capital, either this capital or this rice, it's the same. I think it's better to use capital, but you can do it rice, right? Can be used to do two things. So the stock you have, you can put it there, but you can also put it here. Okay? So you have a stock, could be your time. No, what's your name? Sorry. Rinaldo. I can take Rinaldo week. Rinaldo is a certain kind of capital, and I can put alpha time of Rinaldo. Okay, he goes and teaches someone, or mine. Let me use mine, right? Given that I do that job, right? I can put alpha my time, and I produce output that people can consume. I teach something, right? And I put 1 minus alpha my time, and try to come up with some other contribution, some new capital. Next period. Right? This stuff here, I partly consume and partly make it the old capital, right? That's the old rice. With the technology, I take some of the old rice, I put it here, right? And the output is consumption or more rice of the old type. Right? If you want to be precise, now that we have introduced alpha, we'll write this as alpha beta. Right? And this is right, so tomorrow I have this output and this output. I have two piles of rice. I have a pile of old rice I can consume or I can invest it. And I have a pile of new rice if I'm successful. Okay? Now, obviously, I can decide at this point which one I use. For example, I can decide to consume all this and start using this, if this is good enough. Or maybe this is not good enough, so I want to put it back in the search process to see if I get a better rice. You can tell all the kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. All I'm showing you is how to model innovation super simply with activities, you see? You see what I'm doing? I produced a new good. This is a good that did not exist before. Before I had one good, now I have two. And the process can go on. Now this I can use to reproduce itself with that technology. Or I can use to produce rice of type 2. So I go from rice of type 0 to rice of type 1 to rice of type 2. Okay? I'm building the model with you. As you notice, I'm adding assumption. Because now I'm going to have to add another assumption. Now look at that model, right? And ask, All right, so Baudry, you say, I'm here, time t, I have this pile of rice to type 0, the initial type, and I have to put alpha of it in the reproduction of itself with this level of productivity, okay? And 1 minus alpha in this innovation technology with this level of productivity will give me a new rice. Obviously here the choice is between alpha and 1 minus alpha. How large has to be alpha? And how do you choose it? Says, well, I want to maximize intertemporal felicity. So, say, use your utility function. Okay? So my focus is on this. Right? In this form, the problem is not well posed yet. What is that is missing in this model in order to make this choice meaningful? I still have to make some assumption in order to make this model meaningful. So alpha is a choice variable, okay? In fact, it's a variable we choose at time t.
It is convenient.
Right. And right now, how can I decide convenience? What's convenience here? In your opinion, where could convenience come? Let's see, I have basically in this model, I have the discount factor. Okay, we're not going to touch that. I have the utility function. That's not. So I have 3 parameters, beta, rho, and alpha. Alpha is a choice though, so it's not really a parameter. Okay? So I only have 2 parameters, beta and rho. What do they represent? Beta tells me how productive is a rice that I plant to produce output. And rho tells me how productive is a rice that I use to innovate to produce a new. If rho is 0, innovation is infinitely costly. Okay? If it is very small, it means that I have to use a lot of old rice to get a little bit of the new rice. Right? Beta says that the bigger it is, the more efficient is the variety of rice I have. So why do I want to innovate in this world?
Rho is greater than beta.
Oh, yeah, that would be magic.
K1 should be better than K0.
Right, but in this simple world like this, what does it mean that something is better? Think of the rice, right? Think of the why people look for better rice, better wheat, better barley, better maize, because they are more...
The majority obtained by K0.
Oh, they're more productive. The plants have more kiki, more grains. Right? A better grain variety is a grain that for each plant, remember, 1 seed, 1 plant, right? 1 piece of land. In what sense a rice is better than another variety? Well, yeah, it's more resistant to animals, fine, but it simply means that on average, from 1 rice in the ground, more rice to eat. Bigger. Now, in this simple element, I mean, you can make it. In the simplest model, the new good is better than the old one because it produces more food per unit of capital, right? We have to, here rice is useful because we can measure everything in seeds. You understand, with machines, this argument becomes very tricky. That's why national income accounting of innovation and capital stock becomes very complicated because you have to decide what it means that this costs $1,500 and that costs $1,700. Wait a second, that costs more. This is a much more productive piece of capital. So, right? It's index number for capital goods is a desperation. Right? Because in our mind, in our theory, more stock of capital means more productive capacity. But the way we go out and measure it is by looking at real prices. And what if the real prices go down while the productive capacity of the object goes up? Then you have to use other indices to adjust, right? You have to say, yeah, this costs half of that or whatever, 80%, but it's actually 2 times that, right? So my capital stock, right, has gone up in productive capacity. And we're not able to do this very carefully, so it's a bit of a mess. We are probably grossly underestimating the growth in productive capacity because of this. Because many of the tools we use and are reproducible cost less in real terms. Right? Anyhow, so for grain it's easy. A grain is a grain is a grain. Okay, so we can just use that. It makes, right? But so the representation is a grain of type 0 produces less grains than a grain of type 1. So one way of doing it is what? Very simple. But very simple. You don't have to do that, right? But a very simple way is beta is a number larger than 1, right? First assumption. And second, we write it like this. And now I put an index I to denote the variety of grain, okay? All right, so now I have a general rule. At time t, I have a stock of rice of variety I. I look at the payoff and I say, let me put a share of it in reproduction of itself. Let's call this the reproduction technology, and a share of it in the innovation technology. The share that goes in the reproduction technology produces beta to the power I units per each unit in the ground. So alpha t kit is how much I put in the ground times beta it is the total output. Total output is partly consumption, partly, if I want, could be 0. I keep it as capital of the same variety next period. The share instead 1 minus alpha t kit that I put in the research field will produce raw units. If you want, you can make these also depending on I. But why? It's extra. Right? You see the difference that I'm between being realistic and being simple. I can make raw depending on I. But what do I gain? Nothing. Just an extra thing to cancel. Right? So I can leave it there. So now you can see that the choice is simple, right? What is the choice? The choice is, at time t, right, I have the stock. And so I have, first of all, to choose how much of this, in fact. Because remember, there is consumption. Right? So in fact, here there is consumption at time t. Right? And so now what is that I have to do? I have to look at the marginal utility of consumption at time t. And the capital has now two choices. So let me write both. Because you see, it's a bit of a portfolio problem. So we can try to study two situations here. We can try to study a situation. The model is already very flexible. We can try to study a situation in which we never innovate. We just use AK. You can see it right away, right? If beta is already very large and rho is really very small, maybe we never innovate, maybe. There is one in which we mix, and there is one in which we only innovate. Let's see. The interior solution is the one in which we do both. So if I consume some, then tomorrow I'm going to have a marginal utility of consuming more, and if I put it in here, a unit of capital put in here, right, gives me beta at the power I unit. Uh-oh. No, I'm thinking of the time we have. I'm not going to finish. Right? But we'll try. Okay. If I put it here, what is that I get? Complicated, right? Because this is a stage behind, right? So this pays off in 2 periods. Okay? So in this form, I'm going to get here what? I'm going to get the same marginal utility because that thing does not. And then I have what? Rho. This obviously is less than that, so I never put any. Right? How we do that?
I will add, I will include the addition of beta I plus 1 for the next period.
But then I have to put a second utility. In this form, the choice problem is now well set, no? It's a bit. You following? Or am I losing you guys? Alright, let's go back 1 period. I'm trying to build up the model with you. I want to think about it, right? So I have this capital stock. And I've tried to model in the simplest way the choice of producing more of it, of innovating. Right? But I've got to this conclusion that if I do that, the production gives me consumption and a certain productivity of consumption. This gives me this. I can change notation, right? I can do this. I'm trying to change notation. I can write, this is output of type I, and this is output of type I plus 1. It's equally good, right? But I'm still having a strange thing. This produces all this stuff, and this, because of the innovation, makes me... So, I'm a bit confused. I'm a bit at a loss. How can I try to model this thing? I mean, in your mind, I'm sure it's very clear, right?
There is a trade-off between the marginal field of consumption tomorrow and the day after.
Right. It's shifted 1 period, right? Because now this, basically what's the idea? That this one, the idea is rho is small, right? So I have rho units of it left. But if rho times the new beta is larger than 1, then I'm doing fine. Right? Plus delta, because it's 1 period later. Right? So I have to find a way of writing it, because that's my intuition. The intuition is innovation has to wait 1 period, discounting. Innovation requires, because it has to wait 1 period, production of a new good, and the new good comes in lower quantity because innovation is expensive. That's what rho wants to capture, right? Rho less than 1 wants to capture, look, if innovation was not expensive, we'll always be, better good, more of it, well, that's easy, okay? But it's expensive, okay? But it's a better good, bigger beta. That's what I'm trying to think, but in this formulation with the timing, which means you haven't read the papers I gave you, because if you had read the papers, you would have seen where I'm doing things just a bit different from. You have to study. That's what the weekends are for. You went probably having fun. Huh? Did you go dancing? I saw you dancing. You were at the restaurant. I saw you were in the mountains. Yeah. More, you even went to a movie, I was told. No. What was it? Opera? Theater? You read a book? Novel? Girlfriend? Jesus Christ. You see? Investment, innovation. There's no consumption. You see the choice is between consumption and innovation. See? Consumption, innovation. If you consume, you reproduce the old capital. You don't get the new capital. See? Trying to make it a little bit simple, even simpler. So, first of all, though, we see that the models are as the elements we need. Right? There is the time to wait, there is the cost of innovation, and there is the gain from innovation. Okay? How can we change this? Come on, guys. Okay, let's do this. You'll tell me Thursday how we change.